Welcome to the Whole Athlete Podcast, where we focus on discussing topics to help you become a fat burner, optimize health, and improve performance in life and sports. Transform the whole you from the inside out with the holistic method. Let's dive in. Here's your host, Debbie Potts.
Hey everybody, it's Debbie, and I'm doing a podcast today to talk about mitochondria function as I focus on my health coaching for groups and individuals to teach people how to burn fat, optimize health, but really talking about how to optimize mitochondria function in order to optimize our health and, of course, to improve performance. So if we want to have performance gains and work on the aging process, or we say longevity, there's an area we need to focus on improving more, the function of our mitochondria. And in recent years, there's been more and more research, and one of the leaders in bringing all that research together is Whitten of the Energy Blueprint. And I've been reading his information he sends out in his program, I think a year ago, and then I just signed up for the Mitochondrial Summit and started diving into the different research. But I always come back to Ari's 3 or 4 videos he has in the Energy Blueprint promotion program he has. And he has an ebook and all this information that comes with it for free. So I wanted to put that information together also with some other research links that I've been finding on PubMed, and then talk to Dr. Sarah Myhill again. I interviewed her this past year, and what we learned in a Keon program and learning more in my FDN practitioner program, how to test and assess the mitochondria. So I'm really excited because this area of research is completely fascinating to me as an individual, as an athlete, and as a health and performance coach. So why is that? Well, if you look at what Ari has been saying, adrenal fatigue is a myth. It's not really the source or the problem of having chronic fatigue is not adrenal fatigue, adrenal exhaustion. It's more the mitochondria. Now, there's different researchers that we can post the links to that talk about mitochondria don't just make energy for us. They have 2 roles. So what's crazy, it totally makes sense to me. And it makes sense to what happened to me and why I just can't get running back to where I used to be. And it's been years since I fell apart in 2013, and suddenly it's 2020 next week as I record this. So mitochondria function is really important to work on our performance gains and our longevity, the aging process. But let's start with the basics. What are the mitochondria? We hear about it when we're in school, high school, college, in science class, and you're always learning about mitochondria are those, you know how to draw them, the little oval circle with a squiggly line. I remember having to draw the organelles of a cell, and the mitochondria is something we can always remember how to draw, at least for me. But we are taught that they're the powerhouse of the cell. They're the energy production for our cells, our inner cells. So one thing I looked up online, it was actually Biology for Kids website that showed a great definition. Mitochondria are known as the powerhouses of the cell. They are the organelles that act like a digestive system, which takes nutrients, breaks them down, and creates energy-rich molecules for the cell. The biochemical process of the cell are known as cellular respiration. Now, newer research will get to Robert Naveau or something like that. I have it later on in this on the show notes. But they discovered that it's not just energy production. The cell is also looking for stress. They're being aware of when to be in cell protection and be kind of put the energy production mode on hold when there's an emergency, when there's threats, when there's overabundance of stressors. So we'll kind of go into that a lot. This is going to be one of many episodes of Mitochondria Function. I will post research links on my Facebook page, Low Carb Athlete. I have the Whole Athlete podcast page on there, so I kind of alternate where they go. Ideally, there's one web page for me to post on a social, but less is always more for me. So I try to alternate Low Carb Athlete on Instagram and Facebook. So you may have listened to me over the years, and hopefully you've bought my book on Amazon, Life is Not a Race, It is a Journey, with the Holistic Method and the Holistic Method Manual and Workbook. So this is a personal experience for me with adrenal exhaustion, adrenal fatigue, and then we started to realize it's not the adrenals, it's HPA axis dysfunction. And then more recently, more research is showing that it's not the adrenals that are related to chronic fatigue, it's the mitochondria function that's connected to fatigue. And then I look at my training and knowledge gained from my FDN practitioner program that I have completed. So I'm a certified functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner. And looking at the energy systems, the mitochondria function is really an essential part of looking at the whole person, the whole individual. And in FDN, we don't treat the symptoms. We don't just take your stress hormone panel, one of the 5 labs that we start with, and assess the results. We just accumulate, we collect data from all the 5 labs I do with you. Perhaps your genetic profile from DNA Fit, we can correlate with that. I'll start using Dr. Ben Lynch. They have the Seeking Health program strategy that they're updating in the new year. So we'll start looking at that program and correlate all these resources, all this data, all these clues together and investigate how to optimize your mitochondria, your health, your performance, your longevity, so we can age gracefully and wake up feeling alive and thriving every day with this high level of vitality. So we don't want to just look at adrenals. Adrenals aren't why we're fatigued. I do believe more so it's the chronic fatigue symptom is accumulation of everything. It's not just one thing. So the mitochondria, if they're supposed to produce energy, but they also have to go on cell defense mode if they feel a threat, well, of course, what's going to happen if it's one or the other? If we're in cell defense mode, we're not making energy. So we're going to feel tired. We're going to feel sluggish. We're not going to have energy for workouts. So it really makes sense to me that it's not just adrenal fatigue. It's not the adrenal glands. It's the communication we said before, the hypothalamus talking to the pituitary gland, telling the adrenal gland to respond to that stress. And the hypothalamus also talks to pituitary gland to tell the thyroid when to activate as well or release thyroid hormones and when to thyroid stimulating hormones. So when we have over connection, communication to the HPA, the hypothalamus to pituitary to thyroid axis is not functioning as well. But we can say that is going to cause dysfunction in our hormones, in our body systems, but that isn't the only thing that's causing imbalances. We need to look at our mitochondria, that the mitochondria are related to the fatigue. And then you can see as we get going and talk to Ari Whitten and look at his information he's collected from all of his years of research, that all of this is interrelated. So all these symptoms of hormone imbalance, mitochondria dysfunction, low resiliency to stress, genetics, all the symptoms kind of overlap with each other. So it's never just one thing. That's why in FDN, as a practitioner and a health detective, we don't treat anything specific. If you treat the whole person
and optimize every cell, you will improve every tissue, organ, body system, and the whole individual by improving the function of everything at once. So it isn't just one thing, and that's what I think a lot of people struggle with when they're trying to get help, trying to get results from a program, from a practitioner, from a naturopath, from a doctor, that they're stuck in the cycle of trial and error, just getting one thing treated, treat the symptoms, getting a cortisone shot, or I had someone that just had their son had their appendix taken out. People get their gallbladder taken out all the time. No one ever looks at the why. Why? What's out of whack? What's out of balance that's causing overload to your gallbladder? Why is your bile so thick and not processing and able to break down properly? Why is your appendix overloaded and having pain? Instead of just taking things out or give you a shot if something doesn't feel good, we still need to address the root causes. What's out of whack in the body? And it's never just one thing, because as I keep saying, everything's interrelated. So looking at what is your contributors to your own metabolic chaos is individual. So that's why we run the 5 different labs to collect clues in our investigation of how to have you heal and rebuild yourself from the inside out, talking about the mitochondria. But they're little powerhouse organelles in our cells that create energy, but they also, as I said, the cell defense mode is something we need to learn more about. The mitochondria are the energy factors that create ATP in our cells, but also defend us from those stressors. So it's not just the HPA axis that responds to emergencies and threats and activating the the adrenals to respond to that fire, put the fire out. But the mitochondria are going to be put on hold making energy, and they're going to conserve energy so they can be protecting the cells. So doesn't that make sense? If you're struggling, as I did for many years, with fatigue, poor recovery, weight gain, or inability to burn fat and lose weight, having depression, anxiety, joint pain, just crappy workouts, you can't just bounce back like you used to. It's real. The struggle's real, as I keep saying, and it's not a normal part of the aging process. So you have to let that go. And, you'll see all these different doctors and practitioners, and they're just probably going to give you antidepressant pill, anxiety pill, cortisone shot, remove an organ, whatever it might be. But we need to look at the why. So why don't we start with working on the cells and the mitochondria part of the cells? If we want to feel more energy, why don't we look at how we can optimize the mitochondria, and so they're in energy mode, not in the protecting mode. And there's supplements we can do, there's activities we can do. So there's different strategies to optimize the function, because we want to burn fat, obviously, for fuel. We don't want to be on that blood sugar roller coaster. We want to have performance gains in our training and our workouts. And heading into a new year, we might have some big goals ahead of us. But how do we do this if it's exercise and training for a race, and what you eat and how you sleep and all the elements of the holistic method need to be evaluated and addressed to optimize your performance longevity? We need to start with the mitochondria function. So one article I found, factors associated with increased mitochondrial damage includes oxidants leaked while ATP is produced, aging, accumulated oxidative damage to the DNA, genomic susceptibility, especially ApoE4, toxic metals, persistent organic pollutants, POPs, many prescription drugs, and alcohol. So mitochondria reactive oxygen leaking is a strong predictor across the species for longevity. So this is a study I pulled up from PubMed. I'll put the link in the show notes, and I think I posted it on Facebook. But it really just goes a little more sciencey, but the oxygen is essential for energy production, as we know, for aerobic endurance exercise. But it's dangerous when not totally controlled. So they say in this study, at rest, the body uses 1 kilogram of oxygen per day. During maximal exercise, this can increase 10 to 20 grams per minute. So that's 1 to 2% of oxygen is lost in normal mitochondria. This translates to 10 to 20 grams of oxygen lost per day at rest, and 200 milligrams per minute at maximal exercise. Obviously, this represents a huge oxidative stress, they say in this article, which explains why the mitochondria, ROS production, and leakage are a major source of intracellular oxidants. With age, DNA damage that accumulates, resulting in even more oxygen and high energy electron loss. This helps explain why people start losing energy once they reach around 55 years of age. The primary ways mitochondria are protected from this intense oxidative stress are manage manganese-dependent superoxide and catalyst coenzyme Q10, vitamin E, glutathione, and we'll dive into a little bit more on those suggestions of supplementation. But really, I think it's not just 55 years old, it's the amount of exercise we are doing as athletes. If you're training a lot for endurance events, you're overloading your body. So it's not just the mitochondrial damage, but you also need to look at the cellular the dead cells, the cell autophagy that we need to look at. We need to look at the liver congestion that we're going to create while we overload the liver processing these extra toxins, the oxidative stressors, and how the detox pathways 1 and 2 have to work extra hard. And just think of all the roles the liver already plays. But if we're having this excessive exercise on top of all the different stressors that can damage the mitochondria, including drugs. So they're talking about how many prescription drugs people are on that can damage the mitochondria via a diverse range of mechanisms that we're not going to talk about today because it gets too sciencey. But drugs that damage mitochondria include your Advil, Aleve type of or pills, not supplements, but anti-inflammatory pills people take. Advil, Aleve, antibiotics, aspirin, cocaine. Hopefully no one's doing cocaine. Grisbulfulvin, whatever that is. Indomethacin, methamphetamines, and L-Dopa. I said anti-inflammatories already, and statin drugs that way too many people are on for no reason. So that is an article. I'll put the link in the show notes. Then there's Dr. Ben Lynch, who I love to learn from, and you must read his book, Strategene. It's his company is Seeking Health, is his company, but he has great information on his videos and website blogs that they send out, but he's suggesting supplementing to help our mitochondria with NADH plus a CoQ10 in a daily regimen to decrease the workload on the body at a cellular level we constantly need to protect our cells. So I think of this, if you are an athlete, think of a normal person just living life each day, waking up early, traveling to work, commuting, and breathing air that's toxic, chemicals in our household, all these different things that are stressors in our body. But then take someone that's an athlete working out 10, 20 hours a week, there's even more stress on your cells. So we need to really work on protecting our cells, protecting the mitochondria so they can get back to their main job to make energy for us, not be on the cell defense mode. So Dr. Lynch's company, Seeking Health, you can find supplements they sell. It's in a lozenge form to improve cellular energy function. But I just wanted to share what they say. NADH and CoQ10, the benefits include for those supplements healthy cellular energy production, cognitive health, cardiovascular health, and mitochondrial health. The CoQ10 that you'll find in lots of mitochondrial supplements provides cells with the ATP, primary unit of energy for cellular activity, as you know, and also works as an antioxidant in the mitochondria and the lipid membranes in the body. So remember, every cell lining is a lipid membrane. So NADH is a biologically active form of niacin, vitamin B3, and it functions like a biological spark plug in a cellular energy metabolism. So I think that's something to remember why we take all these supplements. We need these extra spark plugs to help us train and perform our best in races and events. And also NADH is commonly used for healthy energy, memory, concentration, and physical training and endurance. So good reason to take it for athletes and helps really with that mitochondria function. Then we talked to MitoQ this year. Mitochondria is their kind of specialty, how to optimize. And they have a ton of science behind their product, MitoQ. So you can see all their research articles on their website, but they're very well known now out of New Zealand. And they have research to prove that their product works to get the mitochondria to function at optimal level, getting a CoQ10 supplement through the cell into the mitochondria. So what is oxidative stress? I want to add in here too. According to MitoQ's science, oxidative stress is cellular reactions that produce waste products called free radicals. Free radicals cause damage to our cells if they are not neutralized by antioxidants. Oxidative stress is the state of our body when the levels of antioxidants are not high enough to counteract damaging effects of free radicals. Free radicals are something we need to look at, especially for athletes, where that excess stress all the time is really an area why I'm talking about this. But let me pull up what they're saying on MitoQ's website. So the free radicals, what happens is they steal electrons. So the free radicals are a byproduct of every biochemical reaction, even more when you're exercising. And our body keeps free radicals in control with antioxidants. So think of the word oxidative stress. There's antioxidants that we often are told to take and supplement with, as I do myself. And there's you always have that Goldilocks effect, pro-oxidation versus antioxidation. So it's not a bad thing to have some oxidative stress. It's good acute stress, but it's when anything's chronic, we get to have trouble. So we want to have antioxidants to balance with the pro-oxidation. So our body keeps antioxidants in control with CoQ10 naturally. But what happens if we have too much stress, as we always do, is that you need even more CoQ10 and antioxidants. So it's really hard to keep up with demand. So aging, illness, mitochondrial damage, overexposure to environmental toxins, more stressors that our body's internal supply of antioxidants, and increased free radical production if our free radicals are left unchecked, may result in severe damage to the cells. So either the fat cells, protein, DNA, or RNA, and can even lead to cell death and leave the body in state of chronic oxidative stress, which we know chronic is a bad word. Oxidative stress is a major contributor to the aging process, obviously, creating internal stress at the cellular level and externally showing damage with signs of aging. So wrinkles is a big obvious one. When people have more facial wrinkles, it's visible signs of aging from excessive oxidative stress. So lipid peroxide is oxidative stress to the lipid outer layer of the cells. So lipids, fats, are a major source of energy production, as you all know. They produce hormones, fat-soluble vitamins, and a cell membrane. So remember, the lipid bilayer of a cell is fat. So that's why we need fat, and fat is essential as essential amino acids, and there's no essential carbohydrate. We always need to remind ourselves. Free radicals steal the electrons off the lipids with the cell membrane. So visualize a cell in this little outer layer, that lipid layer, and these little electrons get stolen from these free radicals, these scavengers. So this increases the permeability of the membrane, allowing for foreign substances to enter the cells. And the cell contents can leak out and make up changes in the cell, disrupting vital biochemical processes in the cells, leading to cell death. So this is believed to be involved in cellular aging and various health conditions. So lipid peroxidation is oxidative stress to the lipid outer layer of the cells. So hopefully that kind of gives you a little more information on oxidative stress, free radicals. All these terms kind of help understand what happens to our cells and how the organelles in the cell, mitochondria, get damaged. So then there's also protein oxidation. This is when amino acids that are the building blocks of our proteins get damaged. So the protein oxidation occurs during oxidative stress as well. This is breaking the vital bonds that holds the amino acids together, disrupting the biochemical processes, of course, and then formation of the DNA and RNA is damaged. This is also protein oxidation linked to numerous serious cardiovascular, neurological, and metabolic health conditions. So you can learn more about all these oxidative stress to the cells, to the protein oxidation and the lipid peroxidation, and what is oxidative stress on the MitoQ website. I'll put in the show notes. So moving on, I will do a part 2 and part 3 to this topic, but mitochondria, we can learn a lot from Dr. Sarah Myhill, someone who I love to read about. She's got tons and tons of research on her website, Dr. Sarah Myhill, out of the UK. And she just talks a lot about the mitochondria and chronic fatigue and has done lots of research and published research articles on her studies of how chronic fatigue is related to the mitochondria function. So I'm going to highlight this section to make sure we come back to this in the next show. So I do want to talk a little bit about how we can optimize mitochondria function and what supplements you can take as the MitoQ and True Niagen. I take both of those and really working on the different hormetic stressors help improve our mitochondria. So we talk a lot about the cold thermogenesis, infrared sauna. So think of those acute dose of stressors, the shock and awe, the jump in cold water, get out, jump in cold water, get out, HIIT training, high heart rate, low heart rate, high, low, and then fasting, eat, don't eat, eat, don't eat. So all these different on-off switches, those hormetic stressors rather, are that acute dose of stress, rather than what we tend to do is have something nonstop, ongoing stress that becomes chronic. We don't have a break from it. It's just ongoing. And those different internal stressors we want to address. So I will add what we talked about with Dr. Myhill and on her podcast on my show last year. And then in the Keon program, we talked with Ben Greenfield, talked about this a little bit too, on mitochondrial function and chronic fatigue. And performance and longevity, of course, are improved or influenced by the function of your mitochondria. So if they're damaged or mitochondria are damaged, we're obviously going to have performance struggles with performance and speeding up the aging process. So really, I'm about improving the aging process as I turned 48 last month. And I always think I'm 35 years old, but I'm getting up in there in the 40s, and I want to feel my best when I hit 50, not my worst. So I want to keep optimizing my mitochondria. So Dr. Sarah Myhill is one of the world's leading medical practitioners in the management of chronic fatigue. As I said, she published several studies and has treated over 10,000 chronic fatigue syndrome sufferers over 30 years. But her mitochondrial stack, you can look up, includes many of the compounds in our Keon program, and you can find them. I'll remember to put a link onto the show notes on the supplements here. But her stack is what she recommends, along with good sunshine, good filtered water, minerals. And taking this stack really helps mitochondria. So B vitamins plays a central role in what we talked about earlier. Dr. Ben Lynch talks about the NADH production, fatty oxidation, citric acid cycle, antioxidant activity, and the proper function of the respiratory chain that occurs in the mitochondria. So if you're not taking a liquid B, I wouldn't take a pill form. I would be taking a methylated B complex, as you can get on Quicksilver. And I have a 10% coupon off of that. It doesn't give us that much, but 10% coupon can help you a little bit. But the methyl B, and they have a mitochondria supplement there as well. I'll try to put a link. But their B complex I really like. I would go for the sublingual supplements rather than a pill, especially with a B complex. Glutathione I really like from Quicksilver. And then their mitochondria and liver sauce that they have. So sometimes it's easier to get the liquids, and they absorb better in your body than a pill. Another supplement in our stack, so B vitamins. Second one is omega-3 fatty acids like DHA and EPA, which are always needed for everything, are incorporated into the mitochondrial membranes and improve the bioenergetics and the function of mitochondria, as well as the removal of reactive oxygen species. So that's a word you'll read a lot about. Oxidative stress is reactive oxygen species, ROS. The third supplement is magnesium, which we always need and great to take at night to improve your sleep. Magnesium improves the usage of mitochondrial energy as ATP, and is produced. Once produced, it binds to, when ATP is produced, it binds to magnesium ions to create biologically functional form. So ATP is created from the mitochondria, and then the ATP binds to magnesium ions, and then we'll create more functional form of ATP. So, if we want to have functional form of ATP, or source of energy, we need to have magnesium. So you for sure need these supplements. The last one in the stack is calcium. So calcium uptake into the mitochondria helps delay cell death. And if you want to learn more about mechanisms of Dr. Myhill's supplements and her suggestions, you can get to her website. But you want to take the B, the omega-3, the magnesium, calcium, and she talks about vitamin C a lot, a heavy dose of vitamin C. She takes it in the morning, and you get it like a multivitamin that contains I like quicksilver because they're liquid, full vitamin B complex, a methylated form of she says folic, but we don't use folic, that's processed. So folate and inositol, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E, biotin, zinc, manganese, chromium, iodine, selenium, molybdenum, and magnesium, calcium, and potassium. So that's a multivitamin. That should be... There's a liquid one on quicksilver I've taken too, I like. And then Ben likes to use Thorn multivitamin Elite, and Dr. Myhill recommended one from BioCare. And I said quicksilver because it's liquid, but you can find what works for you. A lot of times you have to take one serving is 6 capsules of a lot of the multivitamins. So they're a little harder for some people. If you're not used to taking a handful of supplements a few times a day as myself, you might prefer the liquid. So follow up with this mitochondrial stack with at least 1 serving of essential fatty acids from fish or hemp oil. And then use sea salt liberally throughout the day. I add it into my water. I put it into my bone broth. I just have it all the time, which is funny because so many people are still scared of adding sea salt that they have to avoid salt because of their heart and all this stuff. So sea salt's okay. It's minerals, electrolytes. And then wrap it up, she says, with 2 to 4 grams of vitamin C in the evening. So let me mark this down, make sure I put it in the show notes because I'm sure you're going to be asking for it. But that's kind of the mitochondrial stack that we talked about in my Keon program with Ben from Dr. Sarah Myhill. So she talks a lot about nutritional deficiencies of the major problems with the mitochondria. And, the acetyl L-carnitine, coenzyme Q10, magnesium, they all need to be optimal levels for the mitochondria to work, as we just talked about. So CoQ10, the it's funny, I never say these words out loud, I read them. And that one's a big one. CoQ10, we always hear about acetyl L-carnitine. What else do they talk about here? Magnesium, we just said. So those are all kind of what she talks a lot about. I'm reading interviews she did with Ari Whitten. B3, of course, is essential. And we need B3 as a raw material to make NAD. So that's really important. And the Krebs cycle to make energy, it takes NAD and converts NAD to NADH, and it's the NADH that drives the mitochondria. So we need chemomosis. This is a good learning lesson if you read these research articles. So NAD levels are magnesium. You need magnesium, so you have to take those to really get the mitochondria functioning. So I love the quote. They said, you look after your life and your mitochondria and you'll improve longevity. I think that's from Dr. Sarah Myhill, but that's a good one to remember. So next time we'll talk about Robert Naviaux's research, how he talks about the cell damage, the cell response, danger mode, defense mode, versus energy mode of the mitochondria. So the load of toxins on the mitochondria onto our cells, whether toxins or nutrient deficiencies or emotional traumas, can be all different types of stressors. And essentially, the mitochondria go in this sort of defense mode that Robert Naviaux discovered, the defense mode where their role is to defend against the threat instead of make energy. And that's what I'm really finding fascinating as someone that was told, struggling with fatigue and performance, loss of performance. I couldn't ride my bike. I was gaining fat and losing muscle and feeling crappy every day and depressed and had sleep issues, and everything that could go wrong would keep happening. So if we address not just the mitochondria, though, I think you still have to look at everything, and it's all connected. So we can talk more about this research from Ari Whitten and Robert Naveau and Dr. Sarah Myhill, and put this all together and the important supplements. But what I keep saying is you can't out-supplement bad lifestyle habits. That's the key takeaway here. You can take all these different mitochondrial supplements, but if you don't change the way you live your life every day, it doesn't matter. So if you don't look at the holistic method, working on the right type of nutrition, which is, I'll put this all into another podcast and blog, but the mitochondria function is really optimized by working on the 8 elements of the holistic method: nutrition, exercise, sleep, stress, movement, mobility, digestion, gut health, hydration, and happiness, play, gratitude. Those are all really important. So, we need to work on intermittent fasting when appropriate, the right type of exercise, cold exposure, ketogenic diet is what all of them are saying as well here. Having, watching those oxalates and supplements that will improve the function are essential, but we need to look at how we're living life every day before you try to just take all these supplements and spend $500 on taking all these without addressing how you're living life. So learn from my mistake. You have to be ready to change your life and ready to take care of the whole you from the inside out, working on these different lifestyle habits. So, the taking different medications are going to interfere with the mitochondria function. We need to take care of all of this. So let's leave it there. Next time we'll go into a little bit more on the role of the mitochondria, the supplementation, and what toxins in our environment that damages our mitochondria as, just these toxins and what nutrients are needed. So there's lots of great information on PubMed, and you can find stuff on my blog. So mitochondria function, I think that's what we really need to work on optimizing if you want to improve performance and longevity, especially if you're an athlete, overdoing it with exercise every day. Oxidative stress is going to damage your cells and damage your mitochondria. So looking at your genetic reports, they're all on sale right now. I like DNA Fit. Looking at Strategene for more your genetic breakdown, toxic metals, your toxic environmental chemicals, and too much alcohol. All this stuff interferes with your mitochondria function. So I will end this today because this is a big topic and lots to go into. So mitochondria function, let's look at how you can hack your performance and longevity with your mitochondrial lifestyle habits. Let's not work on the supplementation yet. Let's work on how you are living your life. So look at the Holistic Method Manual on Amazon. And Life is Not a Race, It is a Journey on Amazon. So you understand my story, my personal story. My mission will make more sense after you read that book. My purpose and my passion will make more sense to understand what I'm doing and why. What's my why? All right, guys. Hopefully I was keeping it simple, and sorry I couldn't understand how to pronounce all the words right, but I'll put everything I can in the show notes and on my blog page. Go to debbiepotts.net to get more information and grab those free ebooks while you are there on toxins, the liver function, how chronic stress impacts the whole you, and how to be fat adapted is another ebook on there. So go find them and go smile, laugh, make someone else laugh today, okay? Pay it forward. Enjoy the day. Make it the best one ever.
Thanks for listening to the Whole Athlete Podcast. If you have any questions, feedback, or topic suggestions, let us know on Facebook or at wholeathletepodcast.com. You can help us continue and grow by leaving a review on iTunes. Thanks again, and see you next time.